My Gavan and Melodine, and well met indeed. I am Arkia Galadurthan, the Rising Star, and welcome back to Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, as we continue on with the Tournament of the Swan round for me and Kaelin. I think this is actually round 3. Just as a total side note, I think the people we were supposed to play in the first round either didn't play or we were given a bye into round 2, but for some reason I have this saved as round 3, but this is only actually the second set of footage I have. Anyway, that's by the by. We've made it to the next round, Kaelin and I, and we are today facing off against Nicola Aemon, and Joey face 3063, who we shall call Nicola and Joey. I, as ever, am Grey. This tournament was created to promote the Order of the Swan, the Discord channel directly based off of my YouTube channel. The link is in the description if you want to come and join us. We play Age of Empires, and this tournament represents that. We do not play in a pro-strat kind of way, and these very much reflect that. The tournament, and I will say this at the start of each one and I apologise, the tournament each round is based of a best of 3. You each get a home map to play on, and if it is a draw after 2 games, it then goes to Hideout, which is a pre-selected map, which was created, or chosen, by Mats at the beginning of the tournament. So you all are aware. If you can't beat them in 2 rounds, you're going to have to fight on the Hideout map. This map is Islands, and is the home map of Nicola and Joey. And it's a rather interesting one. I am playing in Grey, and I am the Sicilia, and we are going to be using some very unique strategies indeed. My ally, Kaelin, is in red, and he is playing as the Vikings, a very strong water faction, of course, and the hope is very much that. We're going to need water, so let's get some water factions. The Sicilians do kind of one thing and one thing well, and let us hope that we can pull something off with that. Nicola is playing as the Italians. The Italians are a sort of water nation, but not really. Their only real water benefit is that their fishing ships are cheaper. But beyond that, even though I play as Italians all the time, you're all probably going to be screaming at me saying, "No, Galu! The Italians do loads of water things." Oh yeah, there you go. Dock technologies cost less. I thought there was something else. But those aren't benefits that are going to win in a water engagement, are they? The slightly cheaper dock technologies means you might get 1 or 2 boats out where the other person wouldn't because they've paid to upgrade their boats. But in all forms, really, Italy have a nod to water, but they're not a primary water civ. They are a primary anti-cav civ, and they delight in killing cavalry with archers, which most people don't think about. And then Joey is also playing as the Vikings. Of our enemies today, Nicola is the better player. So as I've mentioned before, in the tournament, the players were all given a hidden ranking that they were unaware of until the end of the tournament, and then the higher ranked players were ranked with the lower rank, working its way right down. So statistically speaking, Kaelin and I were kind of bang in the middle. We were given middling ranks. But generally speaking, 2 average people are better than 1 good person and 1 terrible person. But that's not always the case, as the tournament may or may not prove. It's a bit of a spoiler, isn't it? Anywho, so we're on islands. So fishing is kind of a thing, but otherwise the start is very similar to most starts. You get your sheep around your town centre, you head out and get your boars. There's plenty of deer if you want to go for deer as well. But of course there is fish to choose from as well. And some docks do eventually get set up. At the moment, people are just scouting about, finding the edges of their islands, working out what they're going to do. And of course, the discussion behind the scenes is how are we going to play this? Now, this is Joey and Nicola's home map, as I've mentioned. So you would hope that they have some kind of strategy in mind. That's the point of the home map, is you choose it because you have a strategy. Whether or not you've practiced that strategy or it's just one that you've said to yourselves is almost a moot point, really. As long as you've got something in mind that you think that's going to work. And so we'll see what they come up with today. Nicola at the moment is seemingly just getting as much eco out as possible, same as Kaelin. They're both just trying to get their eco up and running, trying to get their eco boosted. Joey, as I say, Joey is the lesser of the 2, so you may see some things there that you might think, why did he do that? And remember, these are all just for fun. So there might be some mistakes here, there, and possibly everywhere, but take it with a pinch of salt. Feudal Age going up for Kaelin and Nicola. They are very much on terms. They've both got their docks up and running as well. I've now also got a dock and a house, because you need someone to live next to the dock, don't you? Where are all the fishermen going to live? Kaelin's off to scout with some fishing ships, whatever he can do to find the enemies. And there we go. Nicola has hit the Feudal Age. And then Kaelin follows shortly afterwards. Joey is now on his way to the Feudal Age as well. And I am the only one who is not. There we go, following in last place. I'm on my way as well. But with very good reason, as we shall see. As the Sicilians, of course, one of my chief strengths is my early towers. I get something called a donjon, which is an upgraded tower. And it trains my unique unit as well. So it's very much like the blockhouse from Age of Empires 3. If you played as the Russians in that, they get blockhouses which act as defenses and also train their troops. Nicola preparing to defend himself from a seaward invasion, dropping some fire galleys ready to go, and Kaeling sending over, unfortunately, galleys to try and counter him. And as you'll know, fire ships munch through galleys like there's nobody's business. But I, with the complete protection that I have of Joey being nowhere near me and not having a dock of his own... Oh, he's got one at the back. He has got one at the back. I am sending villagers into a transport ship. And then I also hit the Feudal Age. We've already got some people on stone working their way through that. And is the strategy going to come off? Kaelin finds Nicola's fire galleys and starts sending them back. And rather unfortunately, he's hoarding them back towards his own fishing ships. But fishing isn't a huge part of one's eco in this. My villagers land and then start making their way inland. We pop down an outpost to try and find what we can. Always useful to use outposts for scouting, I always think. My villagers keep making their way in. All the while, Nicola and Joey completely unaware that I am now building a donjon on his island just outside of the range of his town centre. That's what's happening on the forward line. Back at home, I'm getting up a market and getting down a blacksmith so that my troops will actually be upgraded and that we can prepare for the castle age, which Joey is now on his way to. Seemingly their strategy may have been a castle age sort of boom strat, I'm not really sure. With the first tower up, I then get a bit ballsier and move closer to the town centre for the next one. And we are already pressuring them. Oh, and I didn't do that. Hold on, let me just check. No, let's try. Aha, there we go. Yes, there's the timer. I knew that I'd forget something. Right, we got the timer up. So 16 minutes in game time. I'll say it once and then hopefully I'll never say it again. It is at 1.7 times speed. So 17 minutes is actually 10 minutes. That makes sense? Oh, it is 17 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm thinking that off the top of my head, but I'm not sure that it actually works like that because time's broken down into... Anyway, my donjons are up and I'm hitting Joey. Joey's on his way to the castle age. Nicola sends some ships in to harass Kaelin, taking out his fishing. But Kaelin is already sending troops over to me and we are going for an all-in strategy. My first donjon is a little bit too close to the town centre and starts to crumble. But I build another one on the gold here, denying them that. And the stone there, denying them that. And with the sergeants now up and ready to go as well, Kaelin then drops onto the island and puts down an archery range, just as Joey hits the castle age. But my sergeants then make their way in, deny a barracks just as it's being built, and then they start putting down another donjon on the back line to deny the farming. Joey tries to get up a second town centre on that far edge, but Kaelin is now on the island as well, pumping out archers. This is a time when Vikings still did archers relatively well. I mean, even in the castle or feudal age, archers are still a go-to for Vikings. That's not a problem anyway. It's only in the later stages when they drop off. My donjons are up. They're denying the gold. I'm then harvesting wood because I've run out of resources. And Kaelin starts to harass Joey's villagers. All the while, of course... Nicola is completely free and in the clear. He hasn't been attacked. He can boon. He can continue doing what he's doing. You'll note he doesn't have very many farms, using up all of the resources first before he builds a farm. Joey then sends all of his villagers in to try and deny the archers of Kaelin any successes. And he does manage, sort of. But then with all of his villagers caught out, my sergeants move in. Let's speed this up. And they go in for the kill. Now, he does get a barracks up, but he costs him 5 or 6 villagers. And then with the sergeants there, we can take down that barracks. Now, all the while, Nicola has now upgraded his navy and has complete naval domination. So we can't get onto the water very easily. But it's cost him his ally at this stage. Joey is now very, very hamstrung. And whilst my assault has cost me, because I'm not very good at 2 things at once, and you'll note a load of my villagers are standing around doing nothing, it has cost Joey more. And the morale effect, it has to be said, on the lower tier players, and apologies, Joey, for calling you that, if I may, I'm a lower tier player as well, and it applies to me. The morale shock of when an enemy has towers in your base, takes out one of your own barracks, and then drops archery ranges on your border, it cannot be said that that doesn't have a huge morale blow for players of this kind of tier. By this point, my sergeants are also now relatively keen to stave off arrow fire, and I'm happy to take the town centre. We pull them all in, and we go for an all-in on that town centre. Still, Nicola. I'm calling him Nicola because I'm sure it's a man, whereas in England that would be Nicola, and we would say that's a woman's name. But I'm almost certain that Nicola is an Italian guy, possibly why he's playing the Italians. And my gut instinct is just to pronounce that differently. Right, with the town centre going up and my donjons having been improved slightly, as I am not yet on my way to the castle age, the only one that isn't. We drop more donjons around the town centre, and then we start to take that down as well. Joey at this point seems to think that evacuating is the best course of action. And away the villagers go. The exodus begins. And they abandon wholesale Joey's starter island. So there are 4 islands to choose from in today's game, and now Kaelin and I have 2. Have 3, sorry. Our troops move around to just pick off whatever remaining villages that we can find. Kaelin drops the town centre, and my sergeants then just start picking off the buildings here. We don't want Joey to be able to come back. Joey flees to Nicola's island, and Nicola sets up a castle on the border there. Now remember, he has naval domination. He's got the fire galleys patrolling, or fire ships as they are now, patrolling our region. And at that point, because why not? Just to stop them actually doing anything to me, I put up some donjons on the shoreline, which is probably a waste of resources. We'll see. Right, we are all now in the castle age. So my donjons, something else that you may or may not know about donjons, is that they get an automatic upgrade when you hit castle age along with your sergeants. And then they upgrade like towers do. But they get an instant bonus upon reaching certain eras. And the sergeants are the same. So you get a spike of power whenever you reach a certain age. Now, Joey makes it over to Nicola, and then they start putting houses down around the edge to try and build a wall of houses. And his town centre finally goes up, along with the 3 of the Italians. Italia. Joey does have some longboats out to try and support, so they still have this naval dominion. But Kaelin is now going to try and challenge it. He gets some fishing, some docks up, and Nicola, doesn't notice the docks and sends his fleet soaring past, which is unfortunate for him. So it's looking a bit grim. We have now got his island. We've got that nice and secure. I dropped some donjons to make sure that the docks aren't challenged. Kaelin now has had all this time free to completely whore out the resources on his own island, but Nicola now makes his move and a castle is dropped on Kaelin's island. He moves forward for a second castle with all the stone that he's gathered, and it's now getting down to an interesting one. Nicola has water supremacy, but doesn't know that Kaelin is building ships in the docks, and Joey has been completely knocked out. Score-wise, as you can see, he's less than half of even me, who's the lowest thereafter. So Joey's in a really bad way. He doesn't have the eco that the rest of us have, and Kaelin and Nicola are now going to fight. Nicola are going to fight on Kaelin's isle. But, of course, Kaelin has the support of me still having some strength. The Imperial Age is hit by both Kaelin and Nicola, and trebuchets start flooding out as well. The Italians then dropping archery ranges. Kaelin very much up against it. He's got a large base to try and clear out now. I then also put down some docks myself and begin preparations for my next step as well. With my 10 sergeants, I will change the very face of the world. Kaelin strikes back at Nicola and starts trebbing his castles down, and Nicola sends all of his villagers to repair, but I don't know that it's going to be enough. And no, indeed, the castle falls. Hand cannoneers move in. Remember, the Italians get cheaper gold units, or cheaper gunpowder units, sorry. Not the Portuguese benefit, but still relatively good. So all of anything gunpowder is cheaper. So that's hand cannoneers, bombard cannons, and cannon galleons are all cheaper for the Italians, which is fairly useful. But against a castle, hand cannoneers aren't going to do anything. Kaelin moves his siege forward to take out the castle and starts repairing the trebs with his villagers whilst they're fighting. I don't know if it's going to be enough or if that treb's going to go down. But the fighting ensues. I then use the opportunity in the confusion and the chaos to avoid Nicola's sizable navy and sail 10 sergeants on to Nicola and Joey's island. So now it's, can Kaelin hold on long enough, and can my sergeants make an impact? Nicola loses the castle on that land, but he has got some barracks up, and there's something coming along inside of them. I prefer the suspense rather than knowing what's going to be in them. I build a nice little corner of 3 donjons on that southern section. Up they go. Nicola comes over and realizes, but it's a little too late. And the sergeants flood into the city, and we deny those 2 wood lines there. Now, of course, they've got all this wood over here, but Joey doesn't. So we deny Joey any wood. And the sergeants move in, dropping another donjon further in. At this point, Kaelin has kind of dealt with Nicola's attack. And I'm just going to call you Nicola. Trying to remind myself to call you Nicola is proving to be a problem, and that might not even be how you pronounce it. So I'm just going to say Nicola. Sorry. Anyway, the Trebs start taking down the military there as Nicola then turns his attention back to his starter island, where I'm then putting another donjon down. At this point, we've upgraded our donjons through the university as well, and all is well. Kaelin then also has his sizable navy move out and deal with the threat of Nicola's navy as we start thundering into their base. Donjons are up. Donjons are ready. Joey's 2 Viking longships sadly die together. What a sad little sight. As my sergeants then start attacking the enemy. You'll note the sergeants now have insane pierce armor. Absolutely outrageous. 5 pierce armor. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So they're dealing with the arrow fire quite nicely and just tanking that. And then we finally hit the Imperial Age. And our forces improve still further. Our donjons now are very, very tanky and can deal with anything the enemy throws at us. And the sergeants then start flooding out to deal with the villagers. We've taken down a town centre. The sergeant horde gathers and moves on to the next town centre. And Joey loses that as one of my donjons then goes down. Over on Kaelin's island, he's completely removed the threat of Nicola. And there we get the GG with the donjon spam coming through. And it ends. So the Sicilians succeeding in the naval field, despite not really being a naval nation. Getting the sergeants over early and claiming the enemy land proved very, very successful. And we're able to take both Joey and Nicola down and ending on almost identical scores. That's very close, isn't it? Only 100 apart. Lovely to see. Let's just have a brief look at the stats before we move then on to game 2 of round 2, possibly round 3. I had the highest economy. Nicola had the best in military, technology, and society, and total. If we break those down, Nicola killed 108, but that's to be expected. He did defend longest, but me and Kaelin taking down 94 and 96 each as well. Joey losing only 44, but again, unfortunately, that just normally means you were killed quickest. And that's no different here. Buildings raised, buildings lost. Economy-wise, I'm not 100% sure why I am the highest in economy, when overall, Nicola got more food, wood, and stone. And I didn't even get the highest in gold. Although that's interesting. We got identical stone. That's surely a 1 in a million. What are the chances of identical stone collection? That's crazy. Anyway, there's all the eco. In terms of technology, Nicola up to the Feudal Age after 11 minutes, and me pulling up the rear 3 minutes later. That's obscene. It's Castle Age at 19 for Nicola and 18 for Joey, but 30 minutes for me. But that's because my attention was all focused on building sergeants and building donjons, which costs food, which stops you leveling up. And Nicola first us to the Imperial Age. Societal doesn't really matter, but Nicola got 4 castles and had 118 villages at its height. Joey only 40, plays 94, and there's your timeline. All right, now let's jump to game 2. All right. So then we move to game number 2, which is Nomad, Kaelin and mine's home map. Now, there was another Nomad before this, but Kaelin's internet disconnected after about 3 minutes. It was shaping up to be a really, really interesting game. And after this one is finished, I will just put up the footage, just so that you can see it if you want. It's only 30 seconds or so. But it was a much more interesting Nomad map. But anyway, that one disconnected, so it didn't go anywhere. So we replayed on the Nomad map. Everyone gets 1 if you disconnect. So we replayed and we are firing off on this Nomad. So this time I am the Italians because I love the Italians. I love the Italians. And everyone is the same colour, save for Joey, who's opted to be green this time. So I'm building down in the southern corner again, much like the last Nomad map, actually. My ally Kaelin is a little further afield this time, over there on the edge, and he's playing as the Persians, a good heavy cavalry civ. Joey and Nicola are much closer together, with Nicola playing as the Japanese, an infantry civ, and the Cumans for Joey, a very good early aggression feudal aggression kind of civ. So the longer the game goes on, the less the humans have to offer, but they are very good in the early stages, which if you do go and watch the footage for the other Nomad game, you're going to hear me say that. But anyway, we plow on. So they're very close together on the eastern edge of the island, and Kaelin and I have a lot more room over on the western edge. My town centre placement's a bit naff. I've put it next to the mines instead of the forest. I should have put it next to the forest. If you're playing as a Nomad, always put your town centre next to a forest. That's the pro tip. Joey opting to go straight into farms, which unfortunately betrays his sort of inexperience, because that's a huge waste of wood when there's plenty of resources, and particularly you should try and get as much fish as you possibly can as early as you possibly can. This time the Italians actually do very, very well, as do the Japanese, where Nicola has his fish, because they get better fishing ships. Mine, obviously, as Italians are cheaper, and Nicola's Japanese ones, don't they fish faster, or do they have 2 times hit points or something? Should we just find out? Nothing's going on, is it? Let's just find out. Japanese fishing ships, twice as many hit points. Oh, and they work faster. Yes, I thought it was something along those lines. So he's going all in on fish on that western edge, but I don't know if he knows that Kaelin is just next door to him in terms of his fishing. Joey is building walls around himself as the first few hit the Feudal Age. The Feudal Age. The age of aggression for the humans, but whether or not they will remains to be seen. So it's Kaelin and Nicola again to the Feudal Age first. Neither Joey nor myself have even clicked up yet. We're 14 in-game minutes in, and I've got a relatively nice little eco going. Got some houses in the middle of nowhere, because why not? I'm getting the golden stone that we need though, and then we're on to the boar. Many of you will be disappointed that I didn't hoard it back to my town centre, but I just like playing the game. It's just such a fun game. If only Command & Conquer had as much of this kind of level of rebirth that Age of Empires has had. When they remaster Red Alert 2, I could see it being a lot more popular. But Age of Empires is a real standout in the community. Joey heads up to the Feudal Age, and I am now the only one not there. He's now fully walled himself in a nice little town. Kaelin is on his way to the Castle Age already. He's really going fast. Hard and fast. Nicola then claims Sea Dominion again and pushes Kaelin's fish away from his dock, whereas my dock is unaffected, and we continue to fish. We continue. I'm then popping down some archery ranges, and we're going to try and go faster into archery than we did in previous games. Kaelin hits the Castle Age and can begin his aggression. He knows where everyone is, owing to his extensive scouting, and he's getting ready to move in and attack. And his knights are on their way. Let's slow it down. So his knights are off. They're going to try and find someone to do something too. Joey is going to try and scout rush, hit us with those scouts. Nicola, not really sure what his current game plan is. Obviously, the Japanese are an infantry civ, so it'll be interesting to see if he manages to make use of that. But quite quickly identifying that, of course, Nicola is the better of the two, Kaelin heads in and starts raiding him with knights. And a couple of villagers, I think, should fall. We're definitely going to see at least one, if not 3. There's the second one goes down. At the same time, I'm getting some archers together, and they're getting ready to move in. Joey sends scouts over to try and assist, and 3 scouts move over. At this point, Kaelin, of course, is unchecked and can continue training more knights as necessary, but he is having to worry about his fishing getting taken down. Nicola then starts walling in his farms over there to try and protect himself, as he then hits the Castle Age as well. So there we are. He was trying to get up to Castle Age quickly. My archers then move over to assist, and we have archers and knights in Nicola's base. I then hit the Castle Age and waste my archers by shooting at a lumber camp. When you arrive on the enemy's doorstep, you are to do everything you can in your power to ensure that they do not gather wood. Oh, my lord. But what about the safe wood gathering they have behind their town centre? Ignore this! Attack their lumber camps. They'll never see it coming. Genius. That man is a pure genius. My archers manage to move in, and just as he then gets them back into the town centre, we upgrade to crossbows and pull out safely with no losses. So now we have them rather pinned. There are 4 knights on the western edge, and it's my archers on the southern border. And Joey doesn't really have anything to support at the moment. He's had those scouts, but of course scouts lose to knights any day of the week. He did move in, and Nicola has also built up behind Kaelin's base. That is his plan that I definitely did not miss, and absolutely am still a pro caster. He's managed to gather some archers together, and he is raiding Kaelin right back. But Kaelin's defenses, or rather Kaelin's economy, is all centered around town centers at the moment, so the archers don't have much to do. And whilst upgrading to crossbows, they then start targeting the lumber camps as well, because any connoisseur of crossbow combat knows the lumber camps are the true enemy. We managed to take down a few more villagers as Kaelin pulls his knights back to go and defend himself, which is fine by me because I've got the crossbowmen that I can keep up the pressure. So we just keep his villagers pinned inside. He doesn't really have the villager strength over here to actually do out. He's got those few crossbows that he can, but of course as soon as they get near to that town centre, the villagers will just garrison inside and the crossbowmen will die. My own crossbows again, I've supplemented them with a few more archers. And they are doing what they can to harass and kill as many villagers as possible. They move in and take down a villager or two, but we do then lose a crossbowman for it. Now he's putting up a siege workshop at the back because nothing counters crossbows like mangonels, and that's going to be his plan almost certainly. Kaelin managed to get his knights back, and they shut down Nicola's crossbow in horde. Horde's probably the wrong word, isn't it? I then move up and decide to put a castle right in his base. If you're going to try and out-mangonel me, I say, ha-ha! To arms, I say. Mangonel this. And with a castle right outside his town centre, my archers and villagers are then protected. My university this time very clearly not being built as a forward university, but is still being built immediately after the castle goes up. Because you need murder holes, man. You need murder holes. Murder holes are life. I then start transitioning to Genovese because Genovese are just better. Now, they do fire slower than crossbowmen. I will give you that. But they have a higher attack and they counter cavalry, and that's what's key. Because at this point, based on the information we have available to us, if Joey comes in here, he's going to be using knights. So why not just throw out some Genovese instead of crossbows? That's very much my thinking. Also because we've kind of got them over a barrel at this point, so you're kind of thinking they're going to be hard-pressed to come back from this one. Can they do it? Can they come back? Joey then sends out his knights on a raid of his own, and he's desperate to try and find my base, and he's closing in. He's getting near, but my base at the moment is pretty appalling, to be honest. My score is all over the place. The initial town centre starts to go down. Nicola moves to build another one, but we are able to shut that down. I've got one Genovese moving through. Look how quickly they kill those scouts. Look at that damage. Oh! Right, the knights make it into my base, and one is killed through the town centre. And we garrison again, and that's enough to send the knights packing. That's enough to put the fear of God in them, and at that point, Nicola realises it's over and resigns. So, Kaelin's early pressure, coupled with a lack of early pressure on the part of Joey and Nicola, is really what won that game again. Again, I'm riding the coattails of Kaelin's victory. I did much better this time in that I actually got archers out and we were able to press. And of course, the castle drop was just a cherry on top, wasn't it? But very much Kaelin's early knight aggression that just bought us the initiative. It allowed me to get archers over to Nicola. But I think truly, I don't want to talk down our offensive, but I think the real victory here was just unfortunately a mismatch in the balance, which you're likely to see in these earlier games. Joey had an idea of what to do, but just was a little bit too slow in keeping up, in getting there, and in both games was unfortunately a little countered and taken out of the games. In this one, he wasn't attacked, but obviously, so he wasn't taken out in that regard, but he just didn't have the troops or the eco available to support, and by the time he had the knights, it was just too late, and that would be very much my opinion. Statistics-wise, let's go through. There's the overalls, all going to Kaelin Bar Society for myself at 130 somehow. Militarily, Kaelin doing the heavy lifting, very heavy lifting, twice even my kills. I lost the least, this time not meaning that I was killed quickest, but actually meaning I either had a very small army or I was a god of micromanagement. And I think we can all agree it was the latter. Buildings lost, none. 2 buildings raised by Nicholas. So he did take something down. And I had the largest army, interestingly. But then cheap armies are large. Kaelin, most economy. I got the most stone. In fact, I was the only one that bothered getting stone. And that allowed me for the castle drop. Technology-wise, 13 minutes for Kaelin. 17 for me and Joey, very close. Nicola on 14, though. So you can see the clear lines down the middle of where the skill line is. Kaelin quickest to castle, and then because of his castle age aggression, he able to stall Nicola. Although no, his knights arrived just as Nicola hit castle age, didn't they? So not a direct cause of that. All right, societal. I had one castle, which is where I got all of my society score from, and the villager high this time was Kaelin. 33 in-game minutes that one was over, and there you have it. And Kaelin and Gallo proceed to round 3, which I think is round 4. And that's the... Now comes the challenge. So stay tuned for next week when we will bring you round 4 if I can get the patcher thing to work, because at the moment only this replay and the last replay are actually showing in my replay, so I'm going to have to fiddle around with it again. But I'm confident I can get it to you. So stay tuned for the next round as we continue in the Tournament of the Swan with Kaelin and Gallo's progression up the ladder. I do hope that you've enjoyed, and if you want to play Age of Empires with us, please join the Discord. Then you go into the server rules channel and you select the reaction on the comment there for the games you might want to play, and then you'll be joined into those game halls. We play Age of Empires most weekends, although the impetus usually isn't there unless I'm playing. Celebrity appeal, you know. But they do play other times as well. But some of the better players don't tend to play as often unless it's been sort of formally organised. But we do also, something I'm keen to do, although I'm away this weekend, annoyingly, but maybe over the Easter weekend, something we're keen to do is run a couple of games for newcomers only. So please do get involved. But anyway, until next time, Nevair Neden Perimad Melunin, and farewell. Alrighty. Welcome then to game number 2, and it is mine and Kaelin's home map again, and that is Nomad. And it's a rather interesting nomad with a really big bay in the middle just there. And as you can see, most of our nations are setting up on this western corner. So we've got Nicola and Kaelin setting up right next to each other. This time I am the Italians and I am grey again. In fact, everyone is the same colour, which is very, very helpful. I'm Italian this time because I love the Italians. Absolutely love the Italians. Can't get enough of them. Kaelin is playing as the Persians. And Nicola is the Japanese this time, a very good infantry nation. Persians are a cavalry nation and obviously have the dreaded war elephants if they're allowed to get up to that. And Joey, the last to set up as the Cumans. Now, Cumans are a very good early aggression civ, but the longer the game goes on, the less the Cumans have to offer. Obviously, they do have things they can do in the late game, but they shine in the earlier stages. So, Kaelin and I very, very close together in, unfortunately, what we don't realise until we actually set up there, is a tiny peninsula with almost no resources between us. But that's a lovely town centre location. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. That's a fantastic town centre location, is it not? I know it is. We all know it is. Nicola, as the Japanese, has the defence of that little shoreline, and he can get away through there. Kaelin is denying access to the stone, but then seemingly changes his mind. And Joey has the rest of the island to himself. So let's see how it plays out. Kaelin is attempting to trap Nicola in, and is trying to wall him in early doors. He's obviously seen where his town centre is, and he's preparing to try and stop him. We'll keep this one on speedier for a bit. Nicola putting down houses of his own, obviously because he needs a house, but also trying to block access from Kaelin, while Joey gets farms up. Nomad has definitely knocked Joey for 6. He's gone for farms very, very early doors. Kaelin on the fish there. I'm fishing over on that western side. And Nicola fishing in the valley. In the bay. He then moves over to take the berries. He's denied himself access to his own stone, which is interesting. I've got a barracks up. We're going early. We're going aggressive. Let's kill those rhinos and let's hit those buggers.